Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another Challenge Circuit Design Contest playthrough. This time we've got Doogan's Glen by Retteach 61, or Troy. Now Troy is a friend of the stream, a friend of the channel, often comes up and shows himself when I'm live, and looking forward to seeing what he's got. So we've got a pretty hefty tailwind behind us on the first, but we'll have a quick look at the plot overall. Nice ribbon lake. It looks like it's going to impact quite a few holes, kind of in the middle of the plot. The plot itself looks quite nice and open, not too cramped, not overly planted, but nice sort of clumps of trees. We'll see how that looks when we're down on the ground, and we're kind of neatly contained within this sort of ring road housing estate kind of thing. So a nice kind of self-contained environment. We've got a tailwind on the first, a fairly simple looking hole. We're at risk of running out of fairway with driver. Laying back with 3 wood probably still leaves us pitching in, but a more uphill shot. First swing of the day, probably hit 3 wood for safety. And that's pretty good. And a pitch up the hill, but with the wind. Just try and put it near the green. Well, sorry, near the pin. Don't need to be too fancy. Yeah, that'll do. So nice gentle handshake of the first hole. Nice view back down the hole as well. Plot looks good. Planting looks nice. So pretty simple par 4 to begin with, which is good because if I don't birdie that hole, I probably feel like I've lost a shot to the field or lost half a shot to the field. It's a hole that I really feel like I should be birdieing. Luckily enough, managed to that time. Drivable par 4 second. This is interesting because this could make or break your round really early. If we're getting after it, I mean, there's obviously the chance of making an eagle and getting 3 under through 2. But there's also every chance of putting one in the water and racking up a big number and all of a sudden being out of contention right from the start. So I'm gonna, with the wind in my face, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna probably hit that little fast one that I normally do. Just draw it round. Don't want to overdraw it and don't want to come up short because the water's threatening. So fingers crossed. A bit pushy. Got a good bounce and a good result. At least we're safe. Just up by the edge of the green. That's a good example of how a risk and reward hole can be done. How much are you willing to risk it? The water obviously is a key characteristic of that. We've got a short par 3 third, so we start with 3 very short holes. Let's have a look at the scorecard and see. 69-69. Nice. So a fairly short course, only par 71. Does look like we ramp up the yardages a bit over the next few holes. A couple of par 5s coming in at 600. And a 200-yard par 3. Par 4s on the longer side. So maybe a bit of a kind of false sense of security offered by the first couple of holes. It's an interesting sort of routing. This is a lovely green site, framed nicely by the bunkers. Planting around it looks good. Rock wall looks very nice. Just a question of sort of accuracy, isn't it? Sort of got an Eden thing going on. Not over the top, kind of on the nose, but got that kind of back to front green, trouble over the back, and it's water rather than bunkers at the front. Oh, that's not a great shot, but I'm going to get away with it. In fact, far better than it deserved. The swing felt really slow. Yeah, the putt wasn't great either. Should be making that, but probably didn't really deserve a birdie from from how I played it. So right, a long-ish par five that swings around the lake. It's quite cool that the lakes come in early. Played in on holes two, three, and four so far. Wind's not helping me because that's I'm not sure I can get home in two, if I'm honest. So I don't need to challenge the lake too much. I just need to be basically on the fairway to hit my second shot as far up as possible. That's a pretty poor drive, all things considered. So done myself in when my only goal was to try and hit the fairway. But I can now lay up. I'm not sure if this is quite intended to be a three-shotter, but I feel like it's going to play, especially with putting it in the rough off the tee. It's definitely going to play like a three-shotter. I feel like a three-shot hole is probably the sensible way to play that because I'm struggling to get home in two, and I'm struggling to hold green. If I do go for it two, I'm probably ending up down here. Um, God, really stiff breeze, isn't it? It's gonna make scoring difficult. Another nice approach though, and just about found the cut. So good start to the round. Now we head into a bit of a longer stretch. We the fairway's going to feed us right to left. There's not a great deal of kind of where do we want to be. I think we've not got a lot of angle, not a lot of angles to work with. So it's just kind of play the hole down there, try and hit our approach close. Um, so that's a good drive, middle of the fairway. You can't really go wrong with middle of the fairway anyway. Um, kind of between clubs, bit uphill. We do have a little bit of a side hill lie. Coming back off that slope. Yeah, slightly between clubs. Maybe didn't take enough off that, but giving ourselves another chance at birdie. Good putt. If I could putt, I'd be five under. Now we get a bit more into the kind of tactical side again. Um, we can. The wind makes this a bit of an automatic choice. We're silly to go this way because we're probably going to run out of fairway. But a shorter hitter or uh, a less favourable wind, we're probably looking at playing down here, and then we have a worse angle in. But we get the opportunity with this wind and with this driver, get the chance to blast one over the bunkers, over this corner of rough, onto the fairway and have hopefully a wedge in. Not a great shot, and drilled the tree right in the middle. Um, so that's kind of our comeuppance for biting off a bit too much and not executing. I thought we had a pretty nailed on, fairly easy shot there. So I think I can get through this gap though. I was hoping to hit that a bit more of a fast and draw that round the corner. Um, but at least we're up by the green, can make up and down for par. So left just a little bit of meat on the bone there. I feel like we've had a good mix of risk and reward so far. We're not being asked to make uh, too many decisions on every single hole. Um, we've had a couple that are more tests of our execution, but we've had the drivable par four so far. We've just had that one that are testing how much we're gonna go for it, how brave we feel. This is definitely going to be a three shotter with this wind. Just about flew it, but yeah, can't get there in two. Um, layup area is a bit choked, so I'm not. I don't really want to hit 7-iron and leave myself kind of another 120 in again. So might as well just hit my 3-wood and get up near the green because I don't want to be coming in with this slope. I don't want to be coming in from with a longer club. Um, I'm going to kind of want to have to fly it over that slope and give the ball a chance to stop. We're on a bit of a side hill lie. Wind bringing it back nicely. Tailwind, you might be able to sneak it there. Left myself a bit of an awkward approach, though. That came off far better than I expected. Wasn't a great swing again, but wind kind of helped me out. And a nice tap in birdie. Okay, a chance to maybe feed the ball off these slopes to get it close. A nice view, particularly when we're zoomed in over another fairway down there. These bunkers kind of frame the green nicely. And I like the heavy grove of planting over here. Looks very natural, very nicely done. Kind of looks like the course was sort of carved out of the landscape. Um, so I like that a lot. It created a pretty cool environment. It needs to get a bit lucky, doesn't it? Not a great shot. Found the green at least, but tricky downhill putt. Reasonably happy with that. That's a lovely view. Another hole in the distance over across the lake. Mountains in the background. Planting looks good. Just a nice kind of place to play golf. Nearly knocked my laptop off the edge of the table. Perhaps the strategy on this hole is a little backwards. Um, in that if we challenge the bunkers on the right, maybe it's only true to this pin, but if we challenge the bunkers on the right, we're coming in over those bunkers. Whereas the further left we go, maybe we're still coming in over the bunkers. But, and I suppose to a pin at the front, if we come in from the right, we can chase it down the front of the green. If we come in left, not a whole lot of difference actually. Um, but maybe we're coming in with a short enough club that as long as we're on the fairway, we're not too worried about them. We're not on the fairway if we're going to push a slow. We would only have a wedge in, but I'm going to have to manufacture something here. Punished for a miss. Bit of luck. Chased it onto the green. Tough putt now up the tier. At least walk away with another par. 500 at the turn. And another shorter par 4 to start the back nine as well. So both nines starting with a shorter hole. But that's I like the bunkers in front of the green. I like how they're sitting. I like the view from the tee, and I like how they're going to impact um, our approach shot as well. That looks like a fun pin in a bowl. Chance, like every chance to get it close. We've got all sorts of ways we can attack it. It's just a case of where do we want to put our drive. The further right we go, probably slightly better angle in. And from the left, we kind of have a little bit less green to work with, maybe in front of the pin. But I'm not sure there's a huge deal of difference. I think in general, that's something I'm noticing on the course, that we don't have a great deal of options. Sometimes we're a bit narrow, and that's making it difficult to have kind of different angles in, um, and that's going to affect how the hole plays and the strategy side of it. Strategy isn't always kind of go for it or lay up. There's a bit more of a subtlety, kind of picking which side of the fairway you're going for, how much of a hazard do you want to take on, and I think that's something that this course. Oh, this looks lovely. That's a really pretty hole. Big fan of that look. But I think, yeah, maybe a little bit more subtlety in terms of where where we might be aiming off the tee, um, could help this course out a lot. I think when you've had the risk reward holes kind of nailed in, and it's very much asking you a question of do you want to go through it or do you want to lay up, they've been strong. Sometimes we're presented with kind of this is how you should play the hole. Like, I don't really see a way that I can get after this green in two. Maybe if the pin was on the left or the front left, we might have an option of going for it. But where the pin is here, I don't really have a shot at it in two. So I'm kind of just hitting it down there to then lay up, probably up here in this bit of fairway. But visually, of course, is lovely. Big fan of the environment you've created. We do have a backstop trying to help us, so maybe we can go for it. Again, it looks nice, but I'm not sure how much kind of this. You'd argue this is probably the best angle we could possibly have in. I'm not sure how much better it is than the right side of the fairway. Well, it's terrible if you're going to hit a shot like that. That needs to get lucky. And we're now kind of the slope that was probably helping us is now potentially kicking our ball on away from the pin and making life a bit more difficult for us. Yeah, I couldn't have played that much softer and it's run away, so maybe not the smartest idea to go for it. Definitely not the smartest when you're going to crush putts like that. Goodness me. This round started brilliantly. What was that? I think I was 5 under through 6 holes, and then haven't done anything since then. An outside chance of sneaking this on the green? Looks nice. Little view of the lake down through the trees here. Bunkers framing the hole nicely again. What are our options? We could kind of lay up short of these bunkers and have a pitch in. We can try and smash a driver. I don't think that gets over the bunker with the wind kind of swirling into our face. I'm going to go for it. Yeah, it wasn't ever going to get over the bunker, but found the fairway and have another little flop shot. Oh, that's bigger than I wanted it to be. Chance to get that shot back from the previous hole. Oh well, didn't break until it was past the hole. Another nice looking par three. The par threes have been nice and varied. This is possibly a chance to run it close again. I'm not sure I want to go all the way in the air with the wind. We're going to be coming in at kind of from this left side. Trouble all around the green. Could argue that maybe you don't need this bunker, and we could tuck the pin, or tuck the green in closer to the water, and then really punish a miss. But on the topic of the water, it's cool that it's come back into play. Um, I know we had it in on the first few holes, and now we've returned to it as something that kind of ties the course together. And that's come off nicely. Planting on the bank looks good again. And finally made another birdie. So 5 under through 7. And then have nothing for 6 holes. These centerline bunkers are probably out of reach unless we have a bit of a hefty tailwind. I can see what you're trying to do. Like, this is the better angle in because we're not coming in over those bunkers. But it's probably out of reach for all but the longest hitters. Maybe not so much off the forward tees. And we still have to hit, like, I feel like this should be more of an option as well for like shorter hitters because this is still a very tough approach shot. Maybe if my driver's only coming up here, I've still got maybe 200 yards left over a bunker without a lot of fairway to run it into this pin at least. So I'm kind of having to manufacture a shot. So I feel like maybe that drive should be a bit more forgiving. Taken the safer drive and distance of the drive has kind of given me a chance of a get out of jail card maybe for this tough approach coming in over the bunkers. Found the green at least. Not the best shot. Snaky putt. Tough one. Probably happy with the 2-putt here. No, not a great effort. Too defensive. At least we make a par. I thought we were going to set the world alight with how we started, but clearly not. This is a really nice view again. I like how we're segmented. We kind of have 3 distinct sections. The hole we've just played, the hole we're playing, and then another point on the course, split up by these lines of trees. And I like how the hole is dead straight laid out in front of us. We can see that there's water there. We can't actually see the surface of the water, but the kind of banking shows us that there's something there, and we can see the bridge. The bunkers sitting quite nicely. Might visually have looked a little bit better to have these staggered a bit more and maybe one in here, so we kind of go one on each side, zigzagging our way up. But I do like how it looks, and I don't know if you meant this, but I quite like how we're playing directly up in line with this ridgeline on the mountain. Like that kind of, we've got a straight line running all the way up our view here, up right to the peak of that mountain. That's really cool. Knowing Troy, I feel like that might be something he did take into account. Interesting green. Quite a bit of life to it. We kind of have 4 distinct sections. I feel like we've got a pin here. This pin's probably quite tough. A pin in here, and then obviously we've got one up here. The worry with a pin here is if we're long, we're putting down this slope, is it possible for us to putt down this slope and stop it before it comes down this slope? We might be able to. That would require testing. It doesn't matter if it requires quite a precise putt, but you've got to at least be able to have that option. That's not a great shot. I was budgeting for a tiny fast. Didn't get it. Coming up short again. Another par. Not the best back nine from me, but I'm enjoying the round. Let's not got too much to say about this hole. This is just going to be another test of accuracy, isn't it? So let's just try and stick it close. That's awful. That's a really bad shot. Caught by the bunker. But a nice recovery. And on to the last. So a genuinely gettable par 5 to finish. Not sure I'd enjoy the walk up the hill back to the clubhouse when we're done. But a cool view down alongside the lake. Can we sneak it over these bunkers and give ourselves a really good chance at getting home in two? I think so. Oh, down ball. Yeah, big push. Hybrid might run up the front from the heavy rough. Yeah, probably better than I deserved from the tee shot. I mean, I don't hate providing a scoring opportunity on the last, but might be worth looking at the fact that I've made a fairly easy birdie with a fairly rubbish tee shot on 18. But I think if we can just kind of take a look at making providing more choices to the golfer. A lot of those holes were kind of just questions of execution. Visually stunning. Another, I think it's one of your strong points. So keep doing what you're doing there. Just try and add a bit more element of risk reward and not necessarily such a binary. Do we go for it? Do we not? Sometimes you did ask that question, like on the second, and that was a really strong hole. I can see that being make or break in your round quite early on. Sometimes, if we can be offered more options off the tee to like middle of the fairway, side of the fairway, and if we're taking on bunkers on the edge of the fairway, or we're taking on the water, that can provide some interest. But thanks so much for the course, Troy. Best of luck in the contest. And to everyone else, I will see you again in another video. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.